We opened the show today breaking down a bad weekend for the Arizona Diamondbacks, not just on the diamond, but off of it. As the Ketel Marte story continues to just grow legs, and it is a story that I don't see going away anytime soon, at least until there's a resolution one way or another. I think we would all agree the potential outcomes here are Torey Lovullo going because of this, Ketel Marte going because of this, both going because of this. The one thing I don't think, at least right now, many of us think is on the table as a potential option is nothing happening. That there is this attempt to pretend that this can just move on and continue. So until one of those other three options happen, we're going to be surrounded by this. It's going to be a cloud that hovers over this ball club. We may not discuss it every day. There may not be anything new to it. We had that initial blitz last week, the story in AZ Central, the Bob Nightingale piece, Geraldo Perdomo's passionate defense of Ketel Marte over the weekend. That was the initial flurry. This is going to quiet down in terms of the daily updates, the daily changes to this story, but that does not mean it goes away. It does not mean that it is not going to be storyline, talking point of order number one this offseason for this franchise. Forget about what they're going to do at first base. Forget about what they're going to do at third base. Forget about how they're going to piece together this rotation next season. Forget about all of that. Before they spend a single free agent dollar this offseason, before they even consider another move, they have to determine what they are doing with Ketel Marte. Because if for just a second they are considering listening to offers for Ketel Marte and they are closer to moving him this winter, that changes the timeline completely. That takes away my thought of 2026 potentially being a surprising year for this team where they can hover around the wild card, be competitive, maybe soft buy at the deadline, and give it a run in August and September with real big eyes set on 2027. You trade Ketel Marte, that's gone. Take that off the table. You've reset. I don't even know if you're going to be ready to compete in 2027. Ketel Marte is one of the best players in all of baseball. You don't just make that decision and it not send ripple waves through the rest of your organization. Now, I tend to believe that the front office that gave Ketel Marte an extension in April is going to want to keep him around. And so I don't think right now as we sit here that that's what they want to do. But they have to make that determination one way or another. Because there's two different visions. There's a vision with Ketel Marte where we're still trying to compete in 2026. We're really trying to go for it in 2027, but we've still got a window here. We've still got talent. We still have a team that can be relevant. Where the flip side is a team without Ketel Marte, a team without one of the best second basemen in all of baseball, one of the best overall players in all of baseball, a massive hole at second base that now needs to be filled. And perhaps one of the young players could fill it. Perhaps Tommy Troy could play there. Perhaps one of the young prospects they have in the pipeline alongside Tommy Troy could fill that role. But you just don't know. And it is a huge vacancy to fill. Not a lot of players hitting 280 to 300 with that type of pop, playing that type of defense, being that valuable as a player. Not many guys that are MVP candidates the way Ketel Marte was for a large stretch of the 2024 season, for a large stretch of 2023. Those players aren't just readily available for you to just replace Ketel Marte with another MVP caliber player. You can't just go down to the convenience store and say, I'd like another MVP candidate, please. Doesn't work that way. You make this decision, you alter the course of your franchise. That's what's at stake here over the next month and a half. So while we may not have daily updates here, this is going to be something that bubbles. And so the question before the break was, do the Diamondbacks have a toxic culture? I don't think so right now. I worry, though, what may happen here over the final month and a half. Am I crazy for being worried about what might happen here over the next month and a half? If this team continues to lose, while this story continues to linger, am I crazy for wondering if things are going to get worse here over the next month and a half? Now, maybe what Geraldo Perdomo said yesterday is the truth. And maybe Geraldo Perdomo is speaking for the vast majority of that clubhouse. And as the clubhouse leader, as the de facto captain of the team, his voice does carry a lot of weight in all of this. And so for at least just this moment, I don't know how long it's going to last. If you want to take the glass half full approach, then you point to Geraldo Perdomo's comments and you say this is not that big of a deal. That we are making more of this than there actually is going on behind closed doors. That maybe there have been some issues in the past, but if Geraldo Perdomo is defending Ketel Marte the way that he is, that it is not that big of a deal. I hope, if that's how you feel today, that you end up being right. But I worry that this is going to get a lot worse before we get to a resolution here in the offseason. You can't put this toothpaste back in the tube. You've had two different reporters talk about the frustration. Nick Pecoro, his story focused more on players that were frustrated. The way I felt coming out of the Bob Nightingale piece, the little blurb that he had about there being a meeting where frustrations were being aired, him not being paid when he was placed on the restricted list. That felt more like coaching, upper management, front office. Now you've got everybody involved in all of this. So in the course of a couple of days, this thing just kind of spiraled out of control. And I don't know when it is going to get better. And it will not get better, at least in our eyes, until you see a change, until something changes. Manager, player, both. But neither. If nothing changes, you're always going to wonder. You're always going to wonder if something else is going on. The case for getting rid of both guys is now you know there cannot be any more problems with those two guys. You know Ketel Marte, Torey Lovello's handling of Ketel Marte can't be a problem because they're both not here.
I also think you can't imagine a world where you just get rid of Ketel Marte. You don't think people are still going to be upset with Torey Lovello and how it was handled?
I have long said that if you're going to move one, you need to move both. And the one you can't just move is Ketel. I don't think they're moving Ketel. I really don't. I know that they're going to listen. I don't think they're moving Ketel Marte. I'm still going to believe in the front office that gave him the extension. I'm still going to believe that it's much easier to change the messenger at the manager position than it is to move a player with that kind of money, that length of the contract, because you're going to try to maximize the return. And you're going to have all these teams that say, well, he's a problem. He's a diva. That's the only reason why you're moving him. And they're going to want to lower that asking price. So what's a fair return for Ketel Marte? Can you even get a fair return for Ketel Marte? All of these are questions that Mike Hazen and this front office have to answer when it is much easier. Because before all of this, a lot of you wanted Torey Lovello gone. A lot of you didn't want to see him come back even though he's got one more year left on his deal. He's going to be a lame duck manager anyway. And we wondered aloud. This is kind of awkward. I know they've been in this spot before, but are they really going to have him be a lame duck into 2025 or into 2026, I should say? Are they going to have him? You can't extend him with the way things have gone the last couple of years. So you're going to have him go into next year? That's kind of awkward. Is this the exit ramp? Is all of this, and I'm not putting it all on Torey Lovello, but he does have some blame in this. Is this the exit ramp that the franchise needs to get a new voice in there?
It has to be. This isn't just, we've talked about the season. This season, partially due to injury, blown games and everything, it's a failure. And I'm not putting all of the failure on Torey Lovello. But back-to-back seasons with high expectations and the highest payroll this organization and franchise has ever seen, you don't make the playoffs. And then on top of that, at the end of the second season, you have a story come out like this about your best player that involves you directly and how you have treated him and how the team feels like he's been able to get away with certain things.
You fix that by either removing the manager, removing the player, or doing both. To me, removing the player will be the third thing that I would do. I would remove the manager, or I would remove both of them before I just removed Ketel Marte from this squad.
Right now, I don't see a world where Torey Lovello will be back to manage this team.
It's starting to feel that way with every passing day. Just feels like the only way they're going to get to put this behind them and it not, because again, if you do nothing, everyone's always going to wonder. So it's always going to follow you. You have to put this in the past, and I think the only way to do it is to move on from Torey Lovello. And remember, this is coming from the guy who has been against this for a large stretch of the year. I just don't see a path out. This is the time to reset here a little bit and not make a seismic change by trading away your franchise player. 480-864-1060 is the phone number for you to join us here today on the program. We're also streaming over on our YouTube channel, on the TikTok live stream as well. And you would be shocked to know, Producer Evan, that the overwhelming thought on our TikTok live stream today, an audience that skews more younger over there, they want a managerial change. They would like Torey to be gone.
That blows me away.
Jay Bell over there says Torey needs to go. Yeah, I mean, I understand that sentiment today. I didn't agree with it at the beginning of the season. I didn't agree with it when we got to the All-Star break and the trade deadline. I've pushed against this. I can't defend this anymore. I can't give you a good reason because the one thing I was holding on to was the culture, the clubhouse. That's the reason why you don't remove the manager, because if the message is still resonating, then he's fine. There are cracks in that armor now. That opens the door.